definitely. And I think all of us can probably relate to that a bit just
Yeah.
in our lives.
Yeah. Well, it's, and the famous Senna quote, if you're no longer going for the gap that's there, you're not a racing driver. And, that he was right in a lot of ways, as far as like, hey, we're out there to compete. And if you're not going to go for it, then what's the point? Right. So, that's certainly, the attitude I take towards motorsport most of the time is we're out there to compete. I love competing. That's one of the things I always talk about is driving race cars is great, but racing race cars is way better than just driving around by yourself. And I could race a lawnmower and have a great time, whatever I'm racing, as long as there's a good competition. That's what I really care most about.
Yeah, definitely. When you say that if you don't go for a gap, you're not a race driver anymore, like Ayrton Senna was right, and other
Mhm.
drivers would prove it, like Alex Zanardi at the corkscrew.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
That
Yeah.
was really impressive, that move.
I a few years ago, actually, gosh, this is longer than I care to admit. I got to teach Colton Herta at one of his first racing schools he ever took at Laguna, and his dad Brian was there, brought him to the racetrack, to the racing school, and I feel bad for Brian because he's to this day he's never lived that down, because he's the driver that Zanardi passed in that move in the corkscrew. And I felt bad for him because the other students in the class were still asking him about that famous last lap pass. Um, but he's always a good sport and great guy, and really, really great driver. So it was cool to hear his perspective on that whole thing, and kind of learn about what it was like to be in that situation. He actually made a smart move. He saw him coming and he had a decision to make, and he actually needed to stay out of the way because he saw Alex was coming so fast. If he turned in, they would have wrecked. And so he made a smart move and ultimately finishing on the podium versus finishing in the gravel trap.
Sometimes you have to be spectacular in what you do.
Yeah, that much is for sure.
Have you ever made a move like that?
Yeah, I have. Sometimes you have to lick the stamp and send it, like Daniel Ricciardo talks about. I I wished I had made that move on Mike skiing at Nashville. Actually, there was a couple opportunities on the last lap where I really would have had to stick it down in there to make it work. But I got a lot of respect for Mike, and certainly wouldn't want to risk crashing into him. But sometimes you have to take the opportunity, and particularly at the start of the race. I had a race in 2019 at Laguna where I had to start dead last, and I ended up winning the race. And along the way, in order to get past the 25 cars that were between me and first place, I had to make a number of those moves that required full commitment and, just hoping it worked out. Unfortunately, it did.
And it almost worked out for Ron Fellows in the Cup race at Watkins Glen one year, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Climbing from 43rd, but he finished second to Tony Stewart, I believe, if I remember right.
Yeah, that was an exciting race. I remember that one.
Yeah. So what else was fun about the Nashville weekend other than the Trans Am race?
Being a part of the event as a whole, and what I liked about the event is our paddock was right out in the middle of everything, and so it was a great opportunity to interact with the fans. That's where I got to meet you, and it was really cool, particularly after the race. A number of people were coming up and asking questions about how the race went. They were commenting on what they saw, and they were really engaged in not only just the coolness of the event, but the details of the race and what happened. And incidentally, that was the race that really showed that the engine package that we had a little bit of a disadvantage compared to the others. And I remarked that how many fans came up and they noticed that. They said, "Hey, I noticed your car was lacking in straight line speed there." And I thought, wow, that's awesome that not only are you guys enjoying the race, but you're that tuned into the race to see the differences and the nuances to what we're doing on the racetrack. I thought that was really cool. And it shows that Nashville is a really cool motorsports town and people know what they're talking about. So that was really interesting.
Definitely. The thing that I noticed about it, about the Trans Am series, was the drivers gave each other room and were more
Mhm.
respectful to each other compared to what you'd find in like NASCAR, where they do wrecking, bump and runs, all that, you know?
Yeah, yeah, that was. I gotta say, going into that weekend, there was a particular section on the other side of the bridge that was really, really narrow. And the talk going into the weekend was, oh man, we're not going to have a lot of green flag laps. There's going to be a lot of crashes. There's going to be a lot of cautions. And that really wasn't the case. I thought everyone in Trans Am did a good job of representing the series well and showing the talent that's there, the respect, the racecraft, everything that makes Trans Am really, really good. And what backed that up was the IndyCar race the next day. How many crashes and cautions the IndyCar guys had on the same track. It showed that we really did a good job.
Yeah, and then Marcus Ericsson, I think his name was, he won the race despite
Mhm.
breaking his wing.
Yeah, yeah. I got it was entertaining. You got to give it that. It definitely was a unique race and kept you integrated. But yeah, I really thought that the Trans Am guys did a good job. We raced really hard and raced really fair.
So did the GT America in stadium super trucks. Crazy Robbie
Mhm.
Gordon.
That's true. Yeah, man, that Super Truck series is so cool. I've always wanted to give one of those trucks a try. They look like they're so much fun. They're sliding sideways and jumping, and it looks like it's really really a unique experience.
Definitely was. And after the second race of the weekend, I remember seeing Robert Stout win the race, and the
Mhm.
trucks came to my section of the grandstands, and five of them did burnouts at literally the same time. And as you can expect, my thoughts were, uh, who won the race?
Yeah, yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's what I like most about that. And Robbie Gordon's always been good about making sure everyone's having fun and keeping it entertaining. And that whole group, the Stadium Super Truck group, they really they always have fun and that you can tell. And it makes it really exciting to watch. I think they do that really well, really well.
Yeah, and Max Gordon finishing the race without a hood. That was spectacular.
Yeah. Yeah. How old is that kid now? He's probably what, in his early teens?
He's in his teens. Yeah, I think if I
Yeah.
remember right, he was 13 or he was somewhere in his teens, the youngest driver, I think.
And can you imagine being, 12, 13 years old and racing a super truck on a racetrack like that and just a series like that with all the fans? That's a lucky kid, man. He's living the dream.
Yeah, and quite honestly, he's a way better driver than I would be. I know that.
Hmm. Yeah, well, it's in the blood, man. The Gordons have always been really, really strong drivers.
Definitely. Yeah, that was overall a great weekend, and
Mhm.
we appreciated the Trans Am series being a part of it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, represent. Well done.
Yeah, and I can't wait to hopefully get back this year because I'm hoping to get there again. It was a big weekend.
Yeah, yeah, I'm very much looking forward to going back. And I've heard rumors that we may be on track more than we were last year. I know Scott was really keen on featuring Trans Am a lot more, and certainly the feedback from the fans is they really enjoyed Trans Am racing. So hopefully we get to have more sessions on track, possibly a second race. I think that'd be really really fun.
Definitely. And who knows, it would be really cool if they had the primary series there too with like Tommy Dreesy and all those guys. That'd be cool if they did.
Yeah, yeah, the whole Trans Am show is fun to watch. So I don't see any reason why they couldn't bring them along too.
Yeah, definitely. That's all I have for now, but I appreciate you making the time to share your racing journey on here.
Yeah, it's my pleasure, man. It's great to talk to you. Great to see you again. Hope to see you soon in Nashville this year.
Definitely. And check out, once again, the Big Machine hand sanitizer. And get your hand sanitizer for these COVID times. And everybody, we'll see you next week for the next episode of Stories from Motorsports.